chance to talk to Dr. Francis Arsenault at this time, but he's welcomed a lot of interesting guests and helped us put together some interesting things over the course of this season, and we'll be varying up our throws for this segment and talk to some different experts and different people in the field. And this week, we're talking to a registered vet technician. Her name is Kelli Cormier. She's at the Riverview Animal Hospital, and she joins us in studio. Welcome, Kelli. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about how you get into this, because you can become, I guess, the full-fledged veterinarian, or is this a step to that, or is this something completely different?
Basically, it's something completely different. We go to school for, depending on where you go, it's 2 to 3 years program. I took a 3-year program at the Nova Scotia Agricultural College, and basically that's how I got into it.
Did you feel like it trained you to do the job that you're doing today? And is this the first job that you've done sort of doing this at the Riverview Animal Hospital, or have you been able to work elsewhere and get experience?
Well, I got my foot in the door being a veterinary assistant, and so sort of got my foot in the door, realized that yes, this is exactly what I want to do, and decided to go to school.
So you say it's a 2 or 3 year program. It's like a diploma course?
That's right. It's a diploma course. It's not easy to get into. There's only so many people that they take a year, but it's in high demand. So people really want to be veterinary technicians.
So not only limited seats, but it's oversubscribed, at least at the school you went to.
Yes, yes.
So when you end up getting into this and you start working, is there like a practical element to it where you get some experience before you... It's not like you can just graduate and they put you right in a hospital, or is it that much of a transition?
No, well, at the schools, they actually have clinics in the school, so you get to have the experience at the school. You go through the surgery steps, all the things that you need to do for surgeries, taking the blood work, all those sort of things before you get into a practice. But they also usually have a component to the school where you go on a practicum or a work term, so you get a feel for what it's like before you're actually put into practice.
Yeah, and work in a real setting, because one thing is at school, you can talk to an instructor, you'll know what you might be sitting in on or learning about, I guess, but when you're working in an actual animal hospital, you never know what's going to come through the door at any minute.
Oh, exactly. That's the fun of working at an animal hospital, not knowing what's going to come in through the door next. I think that's one of my favorite parts of it.
It's maybe the unpredictability, but we were talking off the air, and it's not so much about the vets. Well, it's all about it, and that's why you see people, but you say it's more of a people job, too, because you really have to deal with some situations with some pretty frantic or upset owners sometimes, or scared owners, and they're not sure, what the outcome's going to be. And not only are you there to sort of, if you need to do emergency surgery or prep an animal for some sort of procedure, but you've got to be there to kind of console and be human to the person that's bringing in their pet.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think I realized how much of a people job it is until I got into it. But yeah, it takes a special type of person to be able to go through all the highs and lows of a vet hospital. I mean, we are doing client counseling all the time. If an emergency comes in, people are frantic, so you have to try and calm that person down and take care of their pet in that emergency situation as well. And then there's always the sad aspects of working at an animal hospital too. That's never easy and not something that you ever get used to.
I'm sure you can't go through a couple days without having to see that kind of event.
No, it's a fairly regular basis, but there's always sick animals, and it is a sad event that you have to go through in your life, but we hope to make it as easy as possible for the people and the patients, really.
And you're set up, like, I had a chance to go through a tour there, but you're set up almost like any other emergency room. There's a spot for surgery. There's a spot to get all these things ready to go if something like this comes through the door. Exactly.
We have a family room where people can visit with their pets so that they're not out, in the waiting room with the general public, really, so that they can grieve in comfort.
Yeah, well, you're right. The last thing I want to see, if I bring my dog in and he's really sick and I might have to make a decision about ultimately whether or not to put him to sleep or not, the last thing I want to see is someone leaving with their dog and their dog is okay. It's good to have them sort of, I guess, lack of a better term, sequestered off in a different area where, if they have to talk to the staff that works with you or anybody about those important decisions, you get a chance to do that in private.
Oh, yes, exactly. And, you just don't want to be around a lot of people in that sort of situation.
So as far as working there day to day, do you end up doing more than one surgery, let's say? Is it just like, we have to do 3 surgeries today, or you never really know what's going to happen?
Well, usually we have surgeries scheduled, and those can be anywhere from, there's a number of surgeries we can do in a day, but usually we plan to do surgeries during the morning, and we do outpatients and that sort of thing in the afternoon. But you have no idea, like we said before, what's going to walk through the door. So
yeah,
anything can happen.
Exactly. This kind of thing happened to me a couple years ago. I said this story to Dr. Francis once, and it was when we had my dog Murphy, the golden retriever. He passed away a few years ago. We had to go to the animal hospital suddenly. We knew he had problems. We just thought it was age, but we had no idea that he had cancer and that a lot of his organs were failing him. And we actually, this is a big dog. He weighed about 80 pounds, and trying to get him in and out of the car, when he's almost unconscious, and get him into this hospital, it was people who have your job who just ran out the door and gave us a hand taking the dog inside. And I was amazed at how fast they were able to go to work, but also how fast as well they were able to discern that there was nothing that they could do. But we still had the option of either trying to do some resuscitation or some invasive sort of surgery, or even just letting the dog go. And that whole process, it probably took less than 5 minutes. It felt like 5 hours. But it felt like in that setting that there was somebody there at least helping us out get through that. And then even sort of the end-of-life options after that. Like, you don't expect to go through that. At one minute your dog is fine and laying on the kitchen floor, and then the next minute the dog's not moving. All this stuff comes into play. And the animal hospital, I often wondered, too, if it would always be open every time of the night. What about the hours where you are? Is it something that you can access at any time, or does it actually indeed close?
We are open until 8 o'clock every night, but we also have emergency services available at all hours of the night. So if you need, you have an emergency like your golden retriever, you can call any animal hospital's phone number and get to an animal hospital right away.
So, then how does it work sort of after hours, though? Do you know necessarily where you're going to have to go, or how do people even know who to call outside of maybe their regular veterinarian who might be asleep at, let's say, some ungodly hour like 3 in the morning?
Well, in the Greater Moncton area, there is a rotation between the clinics and between a number of the clinics in the city, and so you would call your regular vet, and an answering service would talk to you and direct you to which hospital's on call that week.
And it's always a different one, as you say, they rotate.
Yes.
When I had a chance to go there, it was in early May, I got to meet a nice little critter. There was a cat that was in the building, and it has a pretty amazing story. You know which cat I'm talking about?
Yes, that's Tippy. Her name's Tippy Eileen, actually. She came to us as a kitten, and she was actually kicked by a horse. So she wasn't doing very well when she got to us, but we were able to nurse her back to health, and she's doing great. Has the odd seizure every once in a while, but has a nice little head tilt. But she's a really great cat.
That's an amazing story, considering what happened. Did that cat have an owner when it came to you, or was it just something that everybody felt that it's a life, we have to try to save it?
I think that's pretty much what happened. She was a burn cat at the time, and whoever found her said, "Okay, we need to fix this cat and do something right away." So they brought her into the hospital.
And the cat, if you get a chance to, if you're in there for whatever reason, that cat has almost a free roam around half the place.
Oh yeah, she has free roam. You can't imagine where we find her sometimes.
Now, you guys also stockpile a lot of special food. Tell us about that.
Yes, we carry veterinary diets. They're high quality diets that are not only just for feeding every day, but they also are therapeutic diets. So nowadays you can actually treat and help various diseases through diet alone. So
well, yeah, and how many of these things are brought on where a dog or a cat gets ill because people decide to feed it people food?
Oh yeah, you can get into trouble by feeding people food. They can get pretty sick through people food.
And a lot of times a dog would come in to, let's say, the animal hospital, and let's say people think it's something really serious, and it might just be that the dog has been eating, let's say, for lack of a better term, crap for so long that, or people food, that the next thing you know, that you have to have a talk with the owner and say, well, we've got some food that's for your dog that it should be eating, or something better maybe to clean up something that it's wrong, maybe gastrointestinally, and instead of sending you to some store, it's right there. You can take a look at it for yourself.
Yes, exactly. I mean, most vet hospitals have the specialty diets that can help with that. It helps everything from GI problems to kidney problems to, even a better coat, less shedding, for example. Yeah.
Now, when you came in this morning, you're dressed up in your uniform like you're ready to go to work. So do you know what you're going to be doing today sort of with your team at the hospital? Because as soon as you've done this, you're going right back to Riverview.
It's true. I was already at work this morning getting ready for the surgeries, and I'm going back to finish up on the surgeries. So we have many things that we have to do throughout the day as technicians, like blood work. We collect the blood, we run the blood work, give those to the veterinarian to decide if this animal is a good candidate for surgery, and then we get the animals under the anesthetic for the surgery and get them ready for the doctor. So basically, the technicians, the only thing that we don't do is diagnose any diseases, and we don't do surgeries either. So
yeah, you have that ability to maybe send some of that stuff elsewhere and get some pretty fast feedback if you're trying to find out an actual diagnosis, if a vet hasn't made a diagnosis.
Oh yes, well, we can do the blood work and X-rays and ultrasound. We do all these things at the veterinary hospital, so we can put all those together, give those to the veterinarian, and they can make the diagnosis from there. Usually that's a lot that the doctor can get the diagnosis from.
Yeah, and there's also a recovery center there too, where a pet can, who's coming out of surgery for whatever reason, is able to sort of be. I think I saw even an incubator there of some sort.
Oh yes, we have incubators. They're old incubators from the human hospital, but we use those every day to keep the animals warm after they're coming out of surgery. But we also keep the bigger dogs right in the treatment area with us, so we can watch them at all times when they're waking up from surgery. Yeah.
Now, is your job much like a vet's work? Do you ever find yourself on call where you have to go in at a moment's notice to deal with something because maybe, not to say it's necessarily short-staffed, but maybe there's more of a demand for work?
Oh, definitely. The technicians at our hospitals, anyway, all have an on-call night. So if the veterinarian needs you, you're able to be called up and run back into the clinic.
And that's just a fact of life. That just comes with the job.
It comes with the territory, yep.
So if someone is out there, Kelly, and they're thinking about getting into this, and let's say kids who are in late high school, or if parents are wondering, what their kids are going to do for a career. Now, you did say that, there's not a lot of options available as far as, when you try to get into a program, because there's so many people wanting to get into it, so there's limited seats available, and they are oversubscribed. But if someone wants to do this and they get accepted, what should they expect? What should be important to them for them to succeed?
Well, I think you need to first realize that it's not just cuddling and playing with animals all day, which I think a lot of people think it is. It's a people job. You need to be able to talk to people. You need to be able to, do the sad jobs too, and you need to be able to do the surgeries, or help with the surgeries. So I think that hard work, being able to, be flexible, because it's a flexible job. It's like an ER. People are coming in all the time, whether they have appointments or not. It's an emergency center. So yeah, hard work, dedication, being proud of your job, and that sort of thing is going to get you a long way.
Well, it's a tremendous facility that you work in, and it's a great team. I got to meet some of them, and listen, thanks again for stopping by.
Great, thanks for having me.
That's Kelli Cormier, a registered vet tech at the Riverview Animal Hospital in Riverview. Time for a break. We'll be back.
McLean in the morning with Tyler McLean. We'll return in a moment on News 91.